welcome to the DGRN Podcast. I'm with Monkey and Tony, and yeah,
No way.
we're gonna talk about things. Firstly
Yeah.
off, we're talking about IndyCar. Larkins won the Indy 500, pretty cool.
Yup.
Talladega was won by Tough Tyler, who is gone from the league, and then
Gone. He's
he's no more.
not doing anything.
And Pocono was won by Right King, who had a pretty
And
cool race.
yeah, and we have not gone anywhere since.
Since a couple months ago. But the rest of the season looks like this. We got Chicagoland, Las Vegas, Texas, Watkins Glen, Kansas, possibly the Indiana course, but we'll see what happens there. St. Petersburg, and then Homestead to close out the season.
These races are nearly impossible to predict because I'm pretty sure these races are first come, first serve.
Some part, I mean, if you've driven in the Indy 500, you get to drive in Indy. If you didn't drive in the Indy 500, oh well.
Whoops.
Sucks to be you. Anyway, if I were to say a champion, maybe Larkins right now. But Silent's looking pretty good. He has the most points, leading by 4 over Ryking. Tony third, Larkins is fourth, Genesect is fifth.
Yeah, I'd have to say probably Silent out of anybody else.
Looking strong in the IndyCar series. On to ARCA. Gerard P is breaking records everywhere.
Going crazy, yeah.
Places, he's going places.
Won the first 3 races, then Kirsch won Kansas, won Talladega. Zach the Nobody won Pocono, and then he won Charlotte somewhat recently. And he's won like all the polls except for one.
Except for one, which was Curse Skeletons.
Races we got left are Pikes Peak, Elwood, Watkins Glen, Michigan, Daytona, Texas, Kansas, and then Talladega to close it out. Gerard P has got it pretty much in the bag,
Yeah,
I'd say.
you could be willing to bet that Gerard's just gonna win half of those races that are left. I can't remember the rest of his part-time schedule, but I do know he's running the Watkins Glen Busch race as well, so
We'll get on to Bush in just a minute. And now into the more depth stuff, the more stuff that makes people
the more stuff that we can actually talk about, you know?
So we are 18 races into the Truck Series season. Braden leads the points. Then Carwolfie is second. TFK Master is third. Gio is fourth. Builder is fifth. And Invictic Zach is sixth. And you have a bunch of drivers from seventh on back who are quite literally going to need a couple good weeks to get themselves into
If they show.
That's a good point. I feel like some of these guys like XLT, maybe even Trey, could somehow, if they have a couple of good weeks, maybe find a way to get into the playoffs. But I feel like from Sword on down, it's like you're going to have to win at Daytona.
Pretty much, because you can only gain 50 points per race. And with only 6
they got
left, that's about like
they got the really small point system in the Truck Series, at least.
Yeah, so that's 300 points left. No one's mathematically locked in or out yet, so that's pretty cool. So you can still gain points here and there, but that's 50 points per race. That is just gone. So
You still could.
You still could at this very moment, but it's gonna be very difficult to say. I think Sword. If I were to say
Sword
from under
might
the cut
have a
line,
chance.
I think Sword, Bell, and that's kind of really where I'm at. I think Sword and Bell, maybe XLT is like the only 3 I can realistically see themselves maybe putting their way in.
Yeah, I mean, XLT's got a chance to like point himself in if he shows up and like actually does good, you know?
I'd say so, yeah. Bell, when he does show up, he usually does pretty well. So I'm hoping that if he shows up a lot more, he'll start kicking ass and go back and forth. And then
Yeah,
Sword, I think he said for me to move the race down 2 hours, which I can't quite do because I'm doing a lot of things today.
Move the race down 2 hours right now.
But I'm assuming you'll miss today's race at Elwood, which will be happening around 6, I believe.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Not Elwood. That track is like the deadliest track on the schedule because literally there's a death wall on the outside lane too. So if you get turned close to the wall, you're done. And then if you're like racing to the start finish line, there's another death wall. And if you get squished down like I did last year and die, it's like you can't do nothing about that. You're out for like those races.
Yeah, the defending winner of this Truck Series race at Elwood later today is Aiden243J, I believe.
Yes, he had a very interesting, somewhat controversial win last season.
I should remember because he DNF'd me.
Yeah, you should.
But anyway, do you want to like talk about like these 6 guys in the playoffs or?
Sure, we will talk about them. And Vixie Zach,
Okay.
for example, he's had some decent finishes. No wins yet. He had a pretty good performance at Michigan, I remember. He was running
He had a pretty
well.
good. He did okay at Pocono, but he couldn't beat me and Lark's son. So
That's
that's pretty cool, I guess. That's just because everyone kept riding the wall off of 3, and we had to nobody had to put a wall glitch in there.
Intentional wall glitches, y'all. But he hasn't
Something
showed up in
that's
a
a
little
r-
bit. But as long
Something
as he
that's
does,
the intentional wall glitches have kind of been a reoccurring theme with the Truck Series, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so. It's just those
Like-
damn truck drivers. But I think.
But yeah, if Vixie Zach shows up, I think he's got a fighting chance.
Now, Builder, on the other hand, is very interesting because he has not showed up since, I believe, April or March, one of those 2 months. So it has been a couple of months since he showed up to a race. But he's still in the playoffs because all the guys under him, they don't really get enough points to pass him
Yeah.
at all when they do show up. And when they don't show up, obviously, you don't get any points. So he's sitting pretty in 5th at the moment.
Because I don't know, I didn't really make it to a lot of Truck Series races earlier this season to commentate them, but I am aware the last one that I did was at Phoenix where he won. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I can't really remember any other truck race that I commentated. But,
The trucks have been very interesting to watch, I guess.
yeah.
Points battle wise. Moving on, Gio is on a hot streak. Didn't show up for a couple races this season, which is why he's so far down. But he has 4 wins on the season: Daytona, Kansas, Atlanta, and then recently just won at another racetrack somewhere.
Atlanta.
Well, Atlanta was the other one. I'm not sure. Where was the third one? It was somewhere.
It was Kentucky.
Kentucky, right? Gotcha. But yeah, he's won a couple races. He's been kind of on the hot streak right now, kind of going crazy. Portland finished 3rd recently just because he was just a lap down and couldn't really do much.
Yeah. I mean, he was in 6th at one point and barely above the playoff cutoff, so that win at Atlanta really, like, boosted him, you know?
I'd say so. Do we consider Gio a I don't want to say like a dark horse pick, but a pick for the championship at this point of the season?
You know, at this point, he's only a few points back from to AFK. I feel like it's going to be a little difficult to get the Braden for the regular season championship. But if we're talking about the championship, I feel like he's got a really good shot. I feel like he could do it. I think he's got the most playoff points out of everybody else. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I think he's a really good candidate for that championship.
Yeah, I would have to agree. He's won at both the speedway tracks and the super speedway tracks, and there's a bunch of speedways coming up in the playoffs. I think we just have actually no, I think we have like 4: Chicagoland, Las Vegas,
Yeah.
Kansas, and Homestead, and then you have a super speedway Talladega thrown right in there. So those are 5 races that could definitely win.
Yeah, the only short tracks on there are Bristol and Martinsville, and Phoenix isn't really considered like a short track or like a super speedway, you know?
It's a 1 miler.
So 1 miler, yeah. So I guess it might be a short track, but anyway, moving on.
TFK Master, he's had a pretty up and down season. Hadn't shown up in a little bit, but nearly won Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, died.
yeah, he dominated the race, and on the last lap, in the final corner, wall glitched, and Zach the Nobody passed him to take his, I believe, his 15th Truck Series win at the time. I'm not sure though. I'd have to check. All-time wins. That was his 15th. Now he got his 16th later this season at Rockingham.
We live in, yes sir.
Yep.
We up. Anyway,
But AFK.
he's been doing pretty all right. He finally did get a win at Charlotte, which was pretty big for him.
Yay!
Dominated I think, damn near the entire race, and was put himself as the championship favorite at that point. But as of recently, it seems like that has shifted. He is right now viewed as like the fourth best driver right now, behind Braden, behind Carwolfia, behind Gio, which is interesting. 213, third in the points at the moment. If he shows up for the rest of the season, I do think he has a fighting shot at maybe getting the championship during the playoffs. He did well at Bristol last season. Got some speedway tracks that seems like he does well at the lifting setups, so that could also help. And then Talladega's a crapshoot, but when it comes to Homestead, I haven't really seen him race Homestead before. I don't think I have, but
I don't think I have either.
Homestead is a lifting track, so I do suspect him to be quick. Just all of a matter of if he shows up or not.
Yeah, I'd have to agree on that because I feel like if AFK just, shows up, I think he'll have a better chance because I feel like he's missed a lot of the races, and if he just showed up, then I feel that he would be I feel like he would have a shot at the championship. I don't think he's gonna win it, but I think he'll be there at the end. I think he'll finish like third or fourth in the final point standings.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Now on to top two, and I will touch back on TFK in just a minute, because I suspect something. Carwolfia and Braden, they are the top two drivers at the moment. Braden first, and Carwolfia is second. Braden has been pretty decent this season. Ran really well at Charlotte before he got trolled. He's ran really well at some other racetracks as well. Carwolfia, who's in second, he got a few wins, Texas and IRP. So he's pretty cool there. But one thing I will say about Braden and Carwolfia that separates those two from TFK Master, and it's not in a good way, is that they are more likely to DNF in a race.
That is true because, well, I've raced with AFK last season, even though he barely showed up. So he usually seemed like he was pretty careful when it came to not junking his car, I feel like Braden and Carwolfia are very much more DNF prone than AFK Master is, or like Gio.
Yeah, that's what I think. Just because of the entire fucking death wall and whatever situation.
Yeah.
Because Braden's a little reckless. Carwolfia is a little reckless as well.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
So if I'm a betting man, there's two ways you can go about it. You can be like, well, they're a lot more faster, more aggressive. So you could say, well, they can win the championship just because of those two factors alone. But say if Braden or Carwolfia dies at Chicagolands, their championship's pretty much over, unless they win at Phoenix.
At Phoenix, yeah.
And that's the way I see it.
Yeah, that's the one time you do not want to make a mistake in the playoffs that could cost you your entire season that built you up to that.
especially if it's like around Kansas or Talladega, then your season's over at that point.
Then you're damn near screwed. Yeah, if you get someone to sub for you and it's like the rule. It's the rule we did for Ray Capone last season. Like Ray died at Martinsville, and they allowed him a sub for Phoenix, where Rainbow kind of like gave up the win, so there would be a championship fight, but still. Like that's what we did last season, so we might do it again if it happens again, but we're just gonna, hope for the best.
Pray that no one dies and everything is okay.
Yeah.
And for the trucks we have left, we have a few interesting ones. We have Elwood, which is cool. Darlington Throwback Weekend. We have one last road course for Watkins Glen.
Which, thank God forbid.
We got Michigan, Nashville, and then Daytona is the win you're in race. Obviously, you don't want to be sixth, so Vixie Zach's really in the trouble seat.
Yeah, Vixie Zach is definitely in the trouble seat. However, if you're one of those guys that are below the cutoff, Daytona is the race you want to circle on your calendar to make sure you make that.
Exactly, and for the sixth, there's a few different battles that could happen. Depending on if there's a battle for the lead, we might have that for the regular season championship, as we almost did last season in the Truck Series.
And we all know what happened there. But anyway,
we have a battle for the cutoff between 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. That is all assuming no one from below the cut line wins the race. And then you have all the guys under the cut line trying to win. So there's a bunch of battles you have to follow throughout the race. And assuming, I think the regular season championship is going to get decided by the time the stage ends. I don't think it'll be like race decides in stage 3, final few laps.
Yeah, because like last season, the regular season championship was decided on lap 2. So,
It is what it is, man. It kind of just be like that, but
sometimes it just happens like that. Sometimes it could be decided by lap 3. Sometimes it could be decided by the end of the race. You'll never really know until the green flag drops.
I'd say so. And that's basically trucks in a nutshell. I'd say just a bunch of things to look for. I'd say it's not like the second most interesting series. Well, no, the third most interesting series to watch right now, because everyone's kind of just everywhere. And
because usually, I feel like this season for trucks has had like the least people show up, and that's why there's a lot of people with not a lot of points. Like I feel like the truck series last season might have been probably one of the best truck seasons in like recent history. I'm not sure, but I feel like that truck series season last season was pretty special.
I'd say so. I think you're pretty accurate. Moving on to Busch, though, we got Monkey got hops with me. He is locked into the playoffs at the moment.
I've been running.
He's been running really well. Nearly got a win at Daytona. Ran pretty okay at Las Vegas. Had some pretty okay races here and there.
Yeah, the only reason I was really slow at Las Vegas and Auto Club was because my welds were kind of saying, "Nah, you don't get to race today."
No more. And you finally got a win at Pocono, which is pretty special. And then recently, although you've only won Indy, so that was pretty special there. But ever since Pocono, you've been on a consistent streak like no other. Haven't really gotten the wins to show it. Gotten a few poles here and there, though. So I'd say you are pretty good on the playoff point spectrum, because you got a bunch of poles and 2 wins. That's still pretty good.
Yeah, I think I believe I tied David in playoff points, who we'll get to in a minute after the Indy race. But I believe I have a chance to have the I don't how do I say it, but I don't know how to exactly say it, but
To
like
like lock up the regular season championship early.
not really. That well, actually yes, but the other thing I was gonna say is I think I have a chance to have like the most points like in a regular season in the Bush series like all time. Like I went as far back as I could, but Ray last season had like 775. I'm at 634 right now.
You're on track.
So I don't know. That's kind of the goal for me at the moment. Actually, like the goal is just wins and polls is all I'm looking at because I want like the most playoff points by like the time the playoffs roll around,
Yeah,
which is really soon. So you know,
that's always important. Demi has been pretty good this season. He's won only the super speedways. He's really challenging his Dale Earnhardt inside of him.
yeah, he's really channeling it.
Not quite too sure what that's about. If that's the case, then he should win at Elwood or maybe the next Daytona race. We'll see.
He's been quick at like a couple other tracks. Like you can see, he got like a pole or two. I don't know. I'm not sure, but
Got a pole at Martinsville of all tracks.
and he did pretty good at that Martinsville race. He dominated, I want to say, around the first stage, and then stage two rolled around, and then all hell broke loose.
Unfortunately, he DNF'd shortly thereafter. Wasn't able to have
Yeah,
a chance at that win, but he's been quick. But recently, at least it feels like recently, with a lack of showing up and just poor races. Other than
I
Richmond,
mean, yeah, Richmond he won stage one and two, and was unfortunately not able to get the win, but had a pretty good points day there. He did pretty good at Portland as well. I'd say he won stage one. I'm pretty sure,
yes, he did. And
but
then at Indy, he just didn't show up, and you just had an amazing race.
and I won stage one, got third in stage two, and then I won the race. So I feel like my 157 point lead is kind of just wow. I don't know, but still.
Yeah, the top two have basically pulled away. You got Cole. They have like third through sixth, which are all very close to each other somewhat. Cole, we'll start off with him. He's gone a few poles. Won a pole at Las
Yeah.
Vegas, got a pole at Talladega, and then won two races, both at Texas and Michigan. Both types of tracks were, I think Michigan was a lifting track, and Cole usually
Yeah.
does not like lifting tracks. But he won there, so that was cool. And then
Yeah,
Texas was a super speedway type of thing.
I'm pretty sure Cole won there in a battle with you. I can't remember, but I don't remember exactly what happened.
I
But
know what happened. So last lap, Baker's dominated the race. I think he won both stage one and stage two. And
yeah, I think so.
final lap in the first corner, he gets turned by somebody. I'm not too.
Yeah, I believe it might have been me. I think I got shoved into him, and then he got hooked off of somebody.
And he got hit the outside wall hard, and then Cole was just able to pull away, block just enough to get his second win. He's come close a few other times, but I feel like he's right now third fiddle. We'll see when the playoffs come around. He's going to have a few points if he can really start getting things to go his way, because he's been pretty decent. He's been
He
top
has
five a
been.
couple races, was actually a threat to win at Montreal, which I find wild to me. But we're here. He's got Elwood, which I think is a good track for him. I think Michigan, if he knows how to run the track again, he'll be fine.
If he
Darlington,
can do it again, yeah.
Watkins Glen. I'm hesitant because he did pretty decently at Montreal. He survived. Watkins Glen's a different track and different beast, and you have to break in turn one. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and then the rest of the track, I'm pretty sure you can just lift and you'll be fine if you know the lifting points. But then again, I'm not sure because I haven't run it yet.
And I think the rest of the season works pretty well for Cole. So we'll see what happens during the playoffs. We'll do another one, I guess, once it's before or after Daytona.
Before or after Daytona. Yeah, that would be the most logical.
And you got David in fourth, who I think I predicted to win like one or two races just by fluking it, but he has been not a fluke. Annoying, but he's not been a fluke. He's gotten a few poles, both at Bristol and Michigan. Then got another pole at Pocono, and hasn't gotten a pole since. But he has 30 wins. Bristol, Martinsville, and Rockingham, all of them being at short tracks, and would have won Pocono if he didn't slow up for you and let you win.
Well, I mean, I don't even know at this point, but I mean, I appreciated it, but he didn't have to, but I was going to be livid either way because I dominated that race. And then Baker's decided to just turn left into the death wall. But, yeah. But David, his Martinsville win was a little bit controversial in my book because he wouldn't even have been up there if Cole didn't jump out of his car with a few laps to go, you know?
Yeah, that's true. He kind of got lucky there. I think Bristol was probably a very legitimate win. Rockingham as well.
I was not there for Bristol. I was there for the first two stages of Rockingham, though. I did see that David was the clear car to win. So I feel like that Rockingham win was pretty good. I did not see the Bristol race, though, because I was, dead. So, you know.
Well, for Bristol, he won both stages, and he basically did a clean sweep. Won the pole, won the stages, won the race.
So Bristol is in the playoffs as well. So if David keeps showing up, which he probably will, he's made almost every race, and he stays above the playoff cutoff, I believe that he probably has a chance to sweep the Bristol races.
I would say probably my dark horse for the championship as well.
I mean, it'd either be him or some of these other guys that we'll get to in a minute, but still.
Then you have Genesect, who sits in fifth, and he's gone in one win at Kansas. Very interesting Kansas race. A bunch of people died and stuff. And
that's why there were 4 deaths in total, and all of them just got called off.
You don't get to die this week. But he's ran okay. He's been mostly just sitting in like the 5th or 6th position. If there's like a 7-car race, and not really going for much here. He showed up late in the truck playoffs, so I'm assuming that's his strategy again to maybe do some wild stuff, take more chances.
I mean, the thing with the truck playoffs last season is this time it's in Busch, and there's only one win and you're in race. The only reason Genesect was able to stay relevant was because he won the Talladega win and you're in race. The only way he was able to stay that close in points was because he won that race. And then Red proceeded to win the Martinsville race, and Glenn won the Phoenix race. So that's exactly what happened to make our, championship 3. And he would have won the Truck Series championship had some outside interference with his Wi-Fi not interrupted him.
Well, what could have been? He's got a few poles though. He has a pole at Atlanta, at Indy, and he got like a truck pole, I think, in the Truck Series at Daytona. I'm not too sure, but
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Right now he's staying above Baker's, which is pretty important considering who is below the cut line, which I'll get to in a minute. But I'd say Genesect's having a pretty okay season so far. Not great, not amazing, but just okay.
Yeah. He's kind of been pretty quiet when it comes to some good top 5s and such. Like he's gotten a couple of those. Oh God, I feel like he's been quiet, but he's certainly one of the dark horses in the playoffs.
I'd say so. Up to 6, we got Baker's. He won the Montreal race. Wild. Everyone was crazy. But
yeah,
he had been waiting on that win for quite a while. Nearly had the win at Michigan. Had an okay shot at Daytona. It flipped like the first stage or something. Las Vegas, I think it was okay. Charlotte, I think he was doing well. I'm not too sure if he showed up for Charlotte actually, but Pocono, of course, he died.
I can't remember. Well, yeah, I remember he was dead during that time. Someone did sub for Bakers during Charlotte. I feel like it'd be pretty easy to remember that as well, because I'm pretty sure there was like 11 cars at Charlotte.
There was a lot. 11 or 13. It had to be one of those two.
It had to be one of those.
Yeah, he did really well at Atlanta. Didn't show up for Portland. I think he showed up for. I don't know. I don't think he showed up for Richmond yet. Actually, never mind. And then Indy didn't show up for that one either. So he hasn't showed up for the.
Yeah, he hasn't really made anything. He hasn't made anything since Atlanta. That win in Montreal is pretty important, but you could argue that, that was a wild race, and for some reason it started off with the same amount of cars as Charlotte, because everyone just decided to join for Montreal, of all races, a road course.
Canada's pretty
so
important.
It was just chaotic from the start, and I personally could have had the win, but then I sold the bag. But anyway,
it is what it is, I suppose.
It'd be like that sometimes. But yeah, if there's anyone I would have wanted to lose to at that moment, it would have been Bakers.
Yeah, he's been waiting on that one for a while. But that's your top 6. 7th on 23rd, I'll cover just quickly-ish. HP, he is showing up and he is coming fast.
Oh yeah, he is running. He is gunning to get in the playoffs. However, if he takes that spot away from Bakers, that's not the spot you want to be in when Daytona rolls around. I know we've been saying it a lot, but you really don't want that to happen.
It happened to, I think, Koval in the Cup Series. We'll get to that in a minute. But
it did. I believe it happened to CRD in the Truck Series last season. Yeah. I don't think anything happened in Busch. I think Silent just won the race.
Actually, no, I think it was Cap that won the race, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Or Cap, yeah, so it was just a part-time car then.
Yeah, so it hasn't happened in Busch yet. That doesn't mean it won't, though. Because I suspect since this Busch Series field has been as big as it has been in a couple of seasons, we might see a pretty big field for it.
Yeah. I feel like the top 4, if they just keep showing up and keep doing good, they're pretty much a lock for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Those 5th and 6th spots, though, I can't really say, because I feel as if Bakers stops showing up and Genesec, has a couple of bad runs, then HP, Mr. Beast, or maybe even Michi or Neptune might have a chance to take that spot away from somebody.
One thing that's very important, HP needs some good races. What's definitely going to be a one thing he's going to look out for. But the races
HP
he did
pretty,
show, he hasn't had the best points days. And one thing I have noticed is that if he does have a good race finish, he doesn't really get the stage points for it. So in this system, you really need to do well in the stages and the race to get the maximum points possible.
Yeah, I mean, from what I hear, he dominated Richmond, just wasn't there at the end of the stage finishes, and you really want some good stage finishes to get some points to pole vault you into the playoffs,
I'd say 42 points out at the moment. If he wants to get to 5th, though, he needs to gain 95 points.
He did win Charlotte and Kentucky as well, though.
Got the pole at Charlotte, too, so he's got a few playoff points.
Back-to-back races as well. He swept both of them. So I don't know. Actually, he didn't sweep both of them, but he won back-to-back races. I can't remember how well he did in the stages during those races, but I think he did pretty good at Kentucky.
I think he did really well at Kentucky. Got I think 3rd and 4th. So not amazing, but definitely better than 5th and then not getting stage points.
It's definitely better than him not getting stage points throughout the race and then just winning the race,
Yeah, but Elwood's going to change all of that. Because there's no stages. That means where you finish is going to be extremely important. And
It will be. Pit strategy will probably also be key as well if there's no yellows and somebody like wall glitches or like gets wrecked, you know?
yeah, because it will just be normal. I guess not normal, but natural yellows for like on-track incidents. And for
Yeah,
most
because
part, the on-track product usually stays mostly green, surprisingly.
so it's one of the really strange super speedway races. But as we saw for like races like Talladega or or Talladega or Daytona earlier this season, these guys usually sometimes or most of the time will pit at different laps. Usually they'll go with their manufacturer or their teammates, or they'll just go whenever they feel like it.
I think the key that you want to do if you're driving around is pit with the leader and go in a group. Because as soon as you break up that entire group, if you have a bad pit stop, if your click doesn't go well, if you're speeding on pit road, whatever the case may be, if that makes you slow on pit road, you lose a bunch of time. And staying in the drafts is extremely important. That's why you saw Gerard P. and Monkey pull away and be the top two at both Talladega and Daytona. They were right there.
And we all know how that ended.
Then he won both of those races.
Well, yeah, and probably didn't need to eat. It probably wouldn't have won either of them if there wasn't a yellow, but still.
Typical Talladega, but I think Elwood's going to change that trend. So obviously Gerard P is not going to be there, so we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't have anyone to push me.
How tragic. Anyway, moving on. Mr. Beast hasn't showed up for a couple races, but he's right there.
I don't think he showed up since Martinsville. I'm not sure though. I don't know if I'd be correct in that statement or not.
I think you would be.
It was like I have not seen that man in a minute.
Tough. Tyler's out of the league, but he's at 9th if he chose back up. Since
if he just decides to come back, yeah.
Beachy soft return won at Richmond, which was pretty cool, but
yeah,
need a bunch of more points. I think Elwood's and just doing well at the other tracks is going to be his best bet.
Yeah, I feel as if he doesn't do good at Elwood here, Michi probably should be just gunning for Daytona. After that, I feel like he might be a little too far out. However, another track that we should circle when it comes to Michi is 100% Darlington.
That is true. He's won the past two races at Darlington in two different cars.
So, yeah, that's definitely his track right there. I remember the Darlington race last season. He did really good, was there at the end, and he won the race. So, I feel he's got a really good shot at least locking up another win this season.
At the very least. I think from 11th on back, you need to win.
Pretty much. I mean, this is one of the biggest bush fields we've seen in a minute, but I feel like when it comes to Daytona, Neptune, Miguel, Zinthroff, and Glenn, they all got a chance at it. Carson, I haven't seen him show up since, March. Auto Club. Yeah. Wicked, yeah, I feel as if he would need to win Daytona as well. We've seen some speed from him, but then in the end it somehow just does not work out. JJ, I haven't seen him since Montreal, but the last time he showed up before that was Michigan, and he kind of made a lot of enemies on track during both those times. But yeah, he'd have to win at Daytona. Olivia, another one that Olivia joined mid-season, so I feel like she never really got a chance to get much points, but she took the booms right away from him. And I feel like she definitely has a chance at Daytona, but I don't know if she's actually finished a race that has death walls
Not yet, no.
No.
She just needs to finish a race with death walls, and maybe she'll have a shot. We'll see.
We'll find out. Rafik have not seen that man since Daytona.
The Boom's not showing up, so right off. Wordy's not showing up, right off. Monster Ty, I think, showed up for Pocono and got killed on lap 1.
Yeah, and then Trey, I don't even.
I think he joined mid-season.
Yeah.
So Daytona for him, I suppose.
The 11 on out, just Daytona, just circle Daytona, guys.
Circle Daytona. You could point your way in, but it's gonna be extremely difficult.
Yeah, you're not mathematically eliminated yet, but you're gonna need a lot of good runs from Elwood all the way to Daytona.
That's only 6 races, man. I'm just saying. I don't know if that's gonna work out. And we got the Cup Series. Oh boy.
Oh, it's been a doozy.
We'll start from 16th and work our way up. We got Kai, who showed up for Sonoma. Was actually ran pretty okay and got some cool points from it. Hasn't shown up really that much since, but he's there, I guess, for Daytona.
Garlic finally got that win at Texas. Other than that, not really much of anything notable.
Adriani, he hasn't been able to show up a lot due to a bunch of things out of his control. Did not get a pole either, so not looking like the season like he's gonna have. Like he's gonna be able to win a couple of times and then get a pole and then get to the playoffs maybe.
Zeki Fufu is kind of in the same situation. Hasn't really been able to show up. Hasn't gotten a win. Hasn't gotten a pole or anything. So
there's that. He's actually like the same thing that Cap is in. They both said, "I'm out of here" mid-season.
Yeah, pretty much.
You got Rainbow, who showed up lately. He had a bunch of computer and personal issues to deal with, so he was out for quite a while. He's recently come back. He's had some decent runs.
Yeah, I'd say at least.
He still
DNF last night at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Due to unfortunate incident between him and Kirst, but still.
It is what it is. He says he thinks he needs to win Daytona. I would be inclined to agree because with the amount of points he's behind and where he's running,
cutoff and where he's running, yeah.
I don't think it's going to be necessarily possible for him to make it on points. It's not mathematically out of the question yet, but I don't think so. And same can be said for King. He does run a little better. I think he has a few more shots. I think Elwood's a track to look out for. He was really good there in season 9.
100%.
Darlington, I think he was okay in. Watkins Glen road courses. I used to think that was his kind of like his thing. He got some cool tracks in the playoffs, so we'll see where King ends up. And he got
I feel like
which is lit.
I feel like Ryking and Rainbow, I feel as if they can gain enough points and do good at these next few tracks. The one race that in Cup Series, like Bush thing is Elwood. Cup, I feel like some of these guys really need to circle the Darlington race for them because I believe that race has no stages as well, so you really want to be there at the end.
Exactly. That's exactly how it's going to go. And in addition to that, we're running last season's Cup cars at Darlington.
Exactly. I believe Lark is the defending winner of that race.
Won in the 71 machine. It's a pretty cool throwback.
That's not even his number.
It was his number for one race. Just needs to hope for something. Koval, quite a few points above Ryking. He's 83 points out of the cut line at the moment. He's having a very interesting and kind of somber season. Got a win at someone said Koval. Got a win at Bristol. He's been kind of there. Maybe would have won North Wilkesboro had he passed post race. Unfortunately, wasn't able to. He's been close a couple of times. He died at Dover, so he missed, I think, like 2.
Yeah.
I think he just missed one race, I think. Actually.
I don't know. We took an off week, I think, so he died at
Dover, and then he missed 2 races, so he's back at Portland.
St. Petersburg and Atlanta. So, yeah, we took, like, 2 off weeks, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so he was back and he was lit. He's been kind of okay. I think he can still point his way in very much, though. If he just sweeps a race or wins Darlington, assuming that,
or Daytona.
or Daytona, assuming that none of these points change, he'd be like 3 points out of it. So
I
that's very
feel
interesting to look
like
at.
if he does make the playoffs as well, he's definitely going to be a dark horse pick.
I would say so, of course. And then Kurst has been a surprisingly like contender for wins. At certain tracks, he's been kind of like fourth, third fastest some tracks, and then
At
Charlotte,
some track,
he got damage, got the win. I mean, that's what you gotta do with damage, I suppose. And then St.
I guess.
Petersburg, he played pit strategy just
After he
right.
was avoiding road courses like the plague, he ends up winning at St. Petersburg.
Just was able to run away on that final restart. Had a beautiful first corner, and then everyone just kind of died behind him.
Didn't feel like catching him, so Kurse kind of just ran away with it, you know.
Yeah, he has 2 wins, no poles, so just about like 20 playoff points. Just a quick calculation there. So if he were to make the playoffs, he wouldn't be in the best shape, but
Yeah,
he'd be in better shape than what Tony's in right now, I suppose.
I mean, as long as you're in the playoffs, I feel like you still have a fighting chance. I mean, you could be in the playoffs, not have a bunch of playoff points, and if these guys don't do very good at some of these tracks in the playoffs, then and you do really well, then you've got like a really good chance.
I'd say so. Ray Capone, I'd say, is like the second best. I think Koval has been the best for a little while. I think Tony would have had that reign had not incidents happened, but we'll get to that in just a little bit.
We'll get to
Ray,
Tony in a minute.
we'll get to a beatdown.
Yeah.
He won at Circuit of the Americas earlier this season, and then was running.
And that was his
okay.
last win.
He's running okay. He won Atlanta recently.
Yeah, he had the
black car.
shot. He had the shot at Indy as well, but unfortunately did not pass post race.
In fact, he failed to pass post race at Indy and North Wilkesboro, and Windows have won both times.
Both times. We'll get to Windows in a minute as well, but Ray, his season has been, I don't know how to put it, but he's either not showed up. He's got the occasional 2 wins there. I don't know about any polls. I don't think he's won any.
Not yet, no.
No, so that's something that you really need as well. Like wins and stage wins are not everything. You need some polls in there as well for some extra playoff points because you're probably not gonna win too many races considering the cup field, you know?
Yeah, I would say so. He can again 34 points out, so he's definitely right there. He's had beef with Aiden in the past, so
Yeah.
if it comes down to
I
Daytona,
mean,
we'll see what happens.
moving on to Aiden, I feel like we could say that pretty much everyone in the field has had at least some beef with him, you know?
Yeah, I would say so. Got damage at Las Vegas, controversial win, but he won it. And then Pocono, I think.
I don't know. I don't know if he would have won if Lark hadn't slowed up for Koval and then Koval sold the bag, but you know.
It is what it is, I suppose. One there, then one Kentucky, which was a fair win. He won on pit strategy.
That was fair.
And then nearly won North Wilkesboro again.
And
just failed past post race.
Failed post race, yeah.
He's gotten 2 poles this season. He won the pole for Las Vegas, and then won another one at North Wilkesboro. So he's been there. He's been fast. That's undoubtedly. He's not slow. But considering the track's up next, if he shows up, then I think he has a shot. If he doesn't, then that's whatever.
Yeah, for Aiden, his case, I feel like out of everybody else that's currently in the playoffs, I think he's got it's either him, Windows, or Lark who got like the most playoff points out of everybody else. We'll get to Windows and Lark in a minute, like I said, but I do feel as if Aiden, as long as he just keeps showing up and like doing his thing and not getting damage to risk not passing post race, so all his points just disappear into thin air that he got for the race. So as long as he manages to stay consistent without getting any damage, I feel like he's got a pretty good shot at making the playoffs and possibly the championship.
Yeah, anything's possible. We're in the playoffs, I suppose. Windows, only 1 point above Aiden, but he leads the Cup Series in wins. Of course, won the
With
Daytona
4.
500. Then much later on, won at Dover, and then has won the last 2 races at Indy and North Wilkesboro. He's been fast recently and was looking kind of dangerous under the cut line for quite a while there, but he's got himself over the cut line. Not sure what the plan is because he really wanted a Daytona 500. He's going to be running one more 500 next season for Fallout Motorsports.
Fallout Motorsports, yeah.
So in the 04, so that's going to be really special. But for this season, I'm not sure if the plan is just to see if he can get another championship, because if he does, that'll make him a 3-time champion, put himself really elite.
And back to back.
That's true. He has. No one has gone back to back since, I think, me in season 7 and 8. I am pretty sure. Yeah, me 7.
But yeah, 4 wins, 1 pole for Windows. I mean, I can't really argue with that. That's pretty good, but the problem for him is the lack of showing up between like Daytona and Dover,
Yeah.
I feel like if he just showed up between there, he'd probably be in this regular season championship fight currently. But it just hasn't been that way. But as long as he stays in 5th or higher or gets up there, then he's got a pretty good shot at like making the playoffs, because you don't want to be in 6th when Daytona rolls around, like we've said, for both trucks and Busch.
Yeah, so Windows is looking pretty cool. Defending champion, we'll see if he gets there. Tony is the very most interesting situation here, because he won Kansas earlier. He's won a couple poles here and there. Won a pole at Auto Club, then won a pole at Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And then for the past 2 races, had beef with Aiden at Indy. Took himself out.
He won the All-Star race as well, which gave him 75 free playoff points.
That's a lot. Like, he would have been set.
And he's not going to use them.
He would have been set on
life. He would
have
been set for life. But last night, the events that took place at North Wilkesboro, he was beefing with Aiden, literally kept slowing down for him, got to 10 laps down because he was just trying to wreck Aiden, and that was just his life's mission. And then he proceeds to just turn left into the death wall, and then proceeds to jump into the catch fence, which killed him. So he's going to be out for the next 4 races. And then he literally said, "I quit."
Yep.
Which is, I know it's a lot to take in there, but like, you could have been set. You could have made it into the playoffs, and you could have been balling.
I think he would have been in the lead in terms of playoff points. I think Lark has gotten a lot of poles, but not a lot of wins this season.
He's gotten 3. I mean, he's the second when it comes to wins.
But in terms of like Lark's seasons, like, this is the least amount of wins he's had at this point in the season since season 7.
Jeez. But Tony as well. There was an announcement made last night after the North Wilkesboro race by owner of FRM, Ray Capone, stated that since Tony literally said he's quitting and he's not gonna like show up to anything, that the 77 will be piloted by Monkey Got Hops, and it's changing to the 24 for the rest of the season until the playoffs, I believe. Then that car will not be a thing anymore.
R.I.P. number 77.
Rip.
But
Unless
yeah,
Tony, after 4 races, wants to come back and he changes his mind, but I don't know if Ray's gonna allow him to come back.
well,
Still a bunch of
that's why I
questions.
kept him in the points because I'm not too sure what's going to happen there.
Still a bunch of question marks swirling around that situation, but I'll try and run that car as best as I can. In the event that he does decide to come back, but still.
Anywho, now on to the top three. Silent Volcano. He was basically the third place driver of the entire season. Only one win at Talladega, was really good at Martinsville, and then I accidentally wrecked him, but we don't talk about that. Anyway, got a pole at Richmond, and then just didn't show up for the race.
Yeah.
He's ran pretty good. He doesn't really have the playoff points really to have a great shot at really being there if Lark and Wright continue having great races. But regardless, I don't think you should overlook him. I think he is, I would say, my dark horse pick to win the championship, if anybody of these six guys in the playoffs at the moment. 89 points above the cut line. He's sitting pretty right now, but obviously needs to show up for a couple more races to really lock himself in, one, and then two, be able to do good in the Cup playoffs, because last season in the Busch Series, he was, I think, by far the best driver there, and then fell off a cliff in the playoffs.
Yeah, because like as soon as like the playoffs were nearing last season in Busch, like even in the regular season, he started to fall off a little bit. That's what gave Ray the regular season championship.
Yeah, it's just, we'll see what happens with Silent. Obviously, a bunch of races still have to go, and then you have the top two. We'll start with Red first. He's gotten 2 wins, both at short tracks, Martinsville and Richmond. He's gotten a couple poles here and there, so he's gotten the playoff points necessary to really have a good fighting shot at it. And recently, he's been doing pretty well. He's still a couple points behind. Well, couple points. I mean, like, that's a lot behind the leader. To be exact, that is 138 points behind Larkins. That's a lot.
It's pretty much the exact situation as Busch, and just in Cup now. But yeah, I feel like Red's got a big fighting chance. As long as he just stays above the cutoff and continues to do good in the rest of these races, which he probably will, I think he'll lock himself in the next few races here. If I had to bet, I feel like he would lock himself in at Darlington. And that's just my guess.
It's a fair assessment.
But yeah, I feel like he's got a pretty good shot at it. Because one thing I learned last season is even I had like a huge lead over him at one point in the Truck Series. I should have never counted him out because I fumbled super hard. But yeah, moving on to Larkins. We briefly went over it a little bit, but 3 wins, about 4 poles actually. So when it comes to playoff points, he's got a lot of them. And if he just stays consistent, I feel like he's pretty much just, at this point, he's pretty much just got the regular season championship almost in the bag, I'd say, as long as he just stays consistent.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. I almost died for like 2 seconds there. Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. Yeah, were we on Larkins? I think we were.
Yeah, we were on Lark.
Sweet.
Yeah.
He got a couple polls, like 5 or something. He won 3 in
He
a
got
row.
4 of them.
Oh, 4, my
Yeah.
fault. He won Coda, and then he won. No,
Not-
he's won
not
more than
Coda.
that.
He won Auto Club and Michigan, and then Portland.
He's gotten a poll at Coda, a poll at Kansas, a poll at Martinsville, a poll at Charlotte, Kentucky, and Sonoma, and then was his last poll. And the polls have been dominated by DG drivers. Tony was the only exception, and then Aiden is North Wilkesboro, because that's kind of like his track or something. I don't know.
There's something, whatever.
So, as per usual, for like the 3rd, 4th season in a row, Lark looks to be on the top of the charts. Red is giving him a fight. Lark just seems to outperform him
Most of the time.
each week in and out. So I think he'll have the regular season championship. I think we'll have to see how that goes. He's gonna lock himself in by today, because he's only like 13 points away from locking himself in. So if he just even if he doesn't show up, he locks himself in. It's basically that's what it is. And then it's just, can he win the championship? He was close last season. Won Milwaukee last season. Milwaukee was in the playoffs last season. It's not now. It's the race today, as of recording.
It is. Yeah, as of recording, qualifying is in less than an hour now at 2:45 p.m. Eastern, and then the race is pretty much almost immediately after that at 3:15 p.m. Eastern. As of recording, it is
1:56 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, 1:56 p.m. Eastern.
And then for Monkey, I think it's like around like 9 or 10.
Yeah, for me, it's only 10:56 a.m.
So
yeah, qualifying for me is 11:45 a.m. and then the race is at 12:15 for me.
Sweet. He's waking up early.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to wake up early, but this is about DGRN, all right?
We have to. Yeah, Larkins is 627 points above the cut line. I think he will be fine for the most part. And
as long as he just shows up, then he's fine.
And then for the rest of the guys, I already covered that, but rest of the races left. There's a couple more extra races. You got New Hampshire in here. You got now the Dover race. Charlotte's in there. Kansas. I'm pretty sure everybody goes to Kansas this time around. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlotte is Cup only, I believe. So they have an extra 2 races, Dover and Charlotte. So that's pretty cool for a Cup. We'll see how that goes. Dover was kind of crazy and kind of wild, but also kind of chill. And then Charlotte was amazing.
So, I feel like some of these guys under the cutoff as well, when it's boils down to it, it's they could point their way in if they wanted to, but they could also just win the Daytona race if they wanted to.
I think you want to point your way in if you're 10th up. I think ranking has a distant shot, but still a shot. I think from 11th down, you need to win Daytona.
That's the thing, though. Like from 12th on down, none of these guys are able to show up. And then from Rainbow above, only those 11 Cup drivers that are left are the only ones that pretty much show up. And yeah, pretty much.
That's how it be. We got a couple races left, and we'll see how things go. We'll check in around either before Daytona or afterwards.
Or after.
We'll go look at the playoffs, see where that's going to go, and then we'll do one last one before the final race.
Yep.
And that shall be cool or something. So that was the first episode, or technically second, since I did
second, I guess.
I did one
2 seasons ago.
Yeah, for season 9. I think Kai was with me talking about points. It was wild. But
I'm here today for whatever reason.
So I'm gonna upload this probably in 20 minutes or something. We'll see what happens.
Something like that. We'll find out whenever.
We'll find out. It's actually a lot
yeah.
longer than I anticipated it being. About an hour worth
Yeah,
of stuff.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
well,
it.
we'll see you guys in I don't know, 45 minutes for qualifying, and by that I mean whenever Zach decides to post the recording, which
Coming
might be like a year or
2027.
so from now. Yeah. So you'll be able to watch that whenever it comes out in 4 years.
Woohoo.